Yes, please.
Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
صلى على محمد وعلى
وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. I hope you can see the book on the screen.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, so we are on page 408, and as you remember, we were talking about hazar as one of the conditions, basically not to be a traveler, not to be a musafir, is a condition for validity of fasting. Then we said this would apply also to recommended fasting. Of course, we had discussions, but normally this is the case. But what about people who are in Medina? There seems to be an exception. It is recommended in some hadith that someone who is in Medina, even if it is for less than 10 days, they can fast. صوم ثلاثة أيام في المدينة المنورة. Fasting for 3 days in the holy city of Medina. المعروف بين الأصحاب استثناؤها. What is well known among our Shia jurists is excluding 3 days fasting in Medina from the general ruling. General ruling is that if you are not there for 10 days, you cannot fast. You are musafir. Unless the issue of nazr. Nazr is different. بل قال في الجواهر بلا خلاف أجده. The late Sahib Jawahir says, I don't find anyone disagreeing. This is more than ma'ruf or mashhur, yeah? He doesn't say it's ijma, but he says, I have not found anyone. So maybe he's not 100% sure that no one disagreed, but he says, I didn't find anyone disagreeing. If there is anyone, he says, I don't know, I am not aware. What is the basis of this fatwa? وتدل عليه صحيحة معاوية بن عمار عن أبي عبد الله عليه السلام. The hadith of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam narrated by Muawiyah ibn Ammar, and the whole chain of narrators is reliable, is sahih, indicates as follows. إن كان لك مقام بالمدينة. مقام is mastar mimi. You know that in sulasi mazid, mastar mimi is like ism maf'ul. Yeah? So, أقام يقيم مقام is ism maf'ul. Muqim is ism fa'il. But muqam can be used also for mastar mimi, even ism makan, ism alat, they can be all ism maf'ul. I mean the wazn is muf'al, for example, for bab if'al. Bab taf'il is mufa'al. إن كان لك مقام means إن كان لك إقامة بالمدينة ثلاثة أيام. If you have 3 days stay in Medina, صمت أول يوم الأربعاء وتصلي ليلة الأربعاء عند أسطوانة أبي لبابة وهي أسطوانة التوبة التي كان ربط إليها نفسه حتى نزل عذره من السماء وتقصد عندها يوم الأربعاء. So if you are 3 days there, so beginning of the day of Wednesday, okay, is beginning of your fasting. So you go next to the pillar of Abu Lubaba. Abu Lubaba, you know, fastened himself to that pillar till Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to the Prophet that he was forgiven. Rabata means to tie, to fasten. So he fastened, for example, with something like rope and said, I am not going to move. Either I, for example, die or I am forgiven. Udruhu, nazala udruhu. Udr means excuse, but here means he was excused. His tawbah was accepted. You go next to that ustuwana, that pillar, and make the niyyah of fasting. Taqsadu indaha yawm al-arba'a. So it shows that awwala yawm al-arba'a means before Fajr, because in Arab, in lunar calendar, you know, day starts from sunset the night before, like Laylatul Jum'ah. So here Yom is 24 hours. It seems that means the night before Wednesday. You go and make this salat and then make niyyah for fasting. ثم تأتي ليلة الخميس. This confirms what I said, that this means the night before. Then the night before Thursday, which comes after night for Wednesday, you go to maqam of the Prophet. تأتي ليلة الخميس التي تليها، يعني تلي ليلة الأربعاء. تأتي مقام النبي. مقام النبي, where the Prophet used to stand, like مقام Ibrahim. Maqam is where someone stands or stood. ليلتك ويومك وتصوم يوم الخميس. So in the night and the day you go there and you fast the day of Khamis. ثم تأتي الأسطوانة التي تلي مقام النبي ومصلاه. The next time you go to the pillar which is close to maqam of the Prophet and to his place of prayer. Now it is Laylatul Jum'ah. So Laylatul Arba'a, Laylatul Khamis, Laylatul Jum'ah. فتصلي عندها ليلتك ويومك وتصوم يوم الجمعة. خب, this hadith is sahih and recommends to fast 3 days in Medina. And it doesn't say, you know, you have to make niyyah of 10 days and staying 10 days in Medina. حكي عن المفيد رضوان الله عليه إلحاق باقي المشاهد بالمدينة. It has been reported. Here one says حكي. It's reported. It's relayed. He doesn't confirm himself, but he says it's reported that Sheikh Mufid added other shrines to Medina. There's holy places to Medina. وَهُوَ كَمَا تَرَى. But it is, as you see, I mean, it's not very strong, because this is about Medina. To say that it was as an example needs reason. وَهَلْ يَلْزَمُ أن يكون ذلك في يوم الأربعاء والخميس والجمعة. The next question, so it is about Medina. We cannot extend it unless a faqih is sure that this was an example. Medina was example. Mecca is the same, for example. Karbala, Najaf, if someone is sure. But if you want to be going literally, we should limit it to Medina. And normally this fatwa of ulama, as much as I know they say it in Medina. But another question, in this hadith, it was recommended that night of Wednesday you go there and do this, night of Thursday, night of Friday, day of Thursday, Friday, etc. So are all these details, especially Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, are these also very much part of this? For example, if someone is there Saturday, Sunday, Monday, can fast or not? هل يلزم أن يكون ذلك في يوم الأربعاء والخميس والجمعة? Does it need to be this fasting on these 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? المناسب ذلك. Sheikh Irvani says, what is suitable, what seems plausible is yes. Why? لأن ظاهر الصحيحة الاختصاص. When you do vasl, you say لأن ظاهر الصحيحة الاختصاص. Because we should go by Zahir. Zahir is Hujjah. If you want to say it's not restricted to these 3 days, you need either to have a proof or say, I can do Tanqih al-Manat, etc. Like Medina, we said, we have to go by the letter of the text. Here also the same. ولا أقل من عدم ظهورها في التعميم. Even if you don't accept that it is ظاهر في الاختصاص, the minimum is to say at least there is no ظهور in generality. So for the rest we have to go by the general rule. The difference is this. If we say it's ظاهر في الاختصاص, we don't need to go to the general rule. What is general rule? General rule is that if you are somewhere less than 10 days, you cannot fast. As a musafir, less than 10 days, you cannot fast. Okay? This is general rule. If we say that this hadith is zahirun fil ikhtisas, means if someone is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, cannot fast. If you say it's not zahir fil ikhtisas, he says at least it is not zahir fil umum, then the result would be that you go to general rule. What is general rule? Is that you cannot fast unless you are there 10 days. So the result would be the same. Ala kila taqdirain, whether you accept it is zahirun fil ikhtisas or you say there is no zuhur, at least in umum, in both scenarios, both suppositions, لا يمكن الحكم بالتعميم. We cannot issue verdict and say it's general. It can be other days as well. لإطلاق ما دل على أن الصوم في السفر معصية وأنه ليس من البر الصوم في السفر. Because we have general rulings, and as long as you don't have proof, you have to go by them. That fasting when you are musafir is ma'asiyah. And it's not an act of goodness and piety to fast when you are musafir. Of course, we have a special definition of safar and all the details which are there. Allahumma illa an yuqta'a bi'adam al-farq. Unless someone has yaqeen. Qat' means yaqeen. When someone is sure, there is yaqeen that there is no difference. Tanqih al-manat, to say, there's no difference. If it can be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if a faqih says, I'm 100% sure that other days also are possible. If someone is sure and has yaqeen, that's different. Sheikh Irvani says, وَهُوَ كَمَا تَرَى. How can you be sure? Maybe there is a khususiyya, there's a particularity about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. ومن هنا يكون الحكم بالاختصاص أحوط. So to rule that it's only restricted to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is more compatible with precaution. Yeah, because we have general rule that it is ma'asiyah to make safar. Fasting in safar. Bal aqwa. Not only it is more precaution, but it is stronger because we said it is zahirun fil ikhtisas, or al aqal there is no zuhur in umum, and we have general dalil. خلافا للسيد اليزدي وجماعة, unlike صاحب أروة, Sayyid al-Yazdi, صاحب الأروة الوثقى رحمة الله عليه, and some people حيث حكموا بالتعميم. They said it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't need to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Any 3 days you are in Medina, this would be applicable. Now we go back to our main issue about Hadar and Safar. We said one condition of validity of fasting is Hadar. Now there's a question. If someone travels after Zuhr, after Zawal, means after religious midday, okay? Because we shouldn't say 12 o'clock, for example. Maybe for many people 12 is midday, but for us it depends. Sometimes before 12, sometimes after 12, sometimes there is summertime, it's 1 o'clock. So we are talking about Zawal, which is a real thing when sun goes from the middle of the sky towards the west. Yeah, Zawal Shari. So, if someone travels after that, normally what is very common is that you fast up to Zuhr, and then if you travel after fasting, you continue your fasting. But if you travel before Zuhr, you fast up to the time that you reach Hadd al-Tarakhus, and then after that you break your fasting if it is before Zuhr. But it's after Zuhr, you keep your fasting. Okay, this is generally the fatwa. Now let us discuss this and see what options are there, what arguments are there, what positions are there. المعروف بين الأصحاب صحة الصوم إذا كان السفر بعد الزوال. What is ma'ruf and mashhur and famous among our ashab, among our ulama, is that fasting is valid if travel is after Zuhr. وَيَقَعُ الْكَلَامِ فِي سُورَتَيْن. But we have to talk about two scenarios, two kind of conditions. الحاضر إذا أراد السفر. One is that you are in your own town and you want to travel. This month of Ramadan, you want to travel. Okay, travel after Dhuhr and your fasting is valid and you finish your fasting. Maybe you are in the plane and you break your fasting in the plane, for example, or you are traveling with the car. Whenever sun sets, wherever you are, your fasting completes. But sometimes it's not a person in his home or her hometown traveling. Sometimes you are returning to your hometown. So for example, you live in London, you have been abroad. Now it's month of Ramadan. If you arrive before Dhuhr and you have not eaten or drunk, etc., you make the niyyah of fasting and continue. But if you arrive after Dhuhr and you have been before traveling, so you cannot fast this day. So if you have two conditions, two options to discuss. One is a person who is present and wants to travel, Second is a person who is traveler and wants to go to his watan or where he's going to be there for 10 days and wants to be there for iqama. Al-Hadir إذا أراد السفر. First, we discuss the first option. When someone who is hadir and wants to travel. اختلفت الأقوال في حكمه. There are different opinions. Although we said what is ma'ruf, but there are other opinions. لاختلاف الروايات. Because there are different hadith and they have different implications. أما الروايات فهي على طوائف أربعة. There are 4 groups of hadith. الأولى, the first group, meaning الطائفة الأولى. The first group دلت على أن السفر إذا كان بعد الزوال فيلزم الصوم وإذا كان قبله يعني قبل الزوال فيلزم الإفطار. One group of hadith says that if you travel after Zuhr Shari, you must continue fasting. يلزم الصوم means صوم is lazim, is necessary. But if it is before Zawal, فيلزم الإفطار, you must break your fasting. When you have to break your fasting, as we said, that's another issue. For example, normally they say when you reach Hadd al-Tarakhus. So you cannot break your fasting at home. Okay? You cannot say because I'm traveling at 10 o'clock, so I will have my breakfast before at home. No. This is what we discussed later. كصحيحة الحلبي عن أبي عبد الله عليه السلام سئل عن الرجل يخرج من بيته يريد السفر وهو صائم. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam was asked about a person that leaves his home and willing to travel, but he's fasting. So when he leaves home, he's fasting. Imam alayhi salam, according to his hadith, said, إن خرج من قبل أن ينتصف النهار فليفطر وليقض ذلك اليوم وإن خرج بعد الزوال فليتم يومه. Imam alayhi salam, according to this hadith, said, if he leaves his home before midday, when the sun reaches middle of the sky, فليفطر, must break. And then later, when he is not musafir, should do qadha of this day. But if he leaves after dhuhr, then فَلْيُتِمَّ يَوْمًا. Of course, leaving watan, in many cases, the criteria is the city, not just the home, unless in certain conditions. So, this is Sahih Halabi. It's very clear that before Zawal, you have one duty. After Zawal, you have another duty. Before, you cannot fast. After, you must fast. Is this the only hadith? No. وَنَحْبُهَا صَحِيحَةُ عُبَيْدِ بْنِ زُرَارَةَ وَمُوَثَّقَتُهُ يعني موثقي عبيد. Both he has Sahih and Muwathaqa. Also Sahihatu Muhammad ibn Muslim. So we have 3 Sahiha and 1 Muwathaqa at least for the first idea. Al-Thaniya means At-Ta'ifatu Al-Thaniya. The second group of hadith is this. دلت على أن المكلف إن حدث نفسه ليلا بالسفر لزمه الإفطار وإلا لزمه الصوم. The second group of hadith says that the mukallaf, if in the night before has talked to himself, means has had the intention of fasting, intention of traveling, and has talked to himself about traveling. He's had the intention of traveling, safar. Even if it is not Zohr, maybe it's after Zohr, whatever. They say when in the night before you knew that you are traveling during the day, then you cannot fast. You should do iftar. Because niyyah of being there is needed for being able to make niyyah of fasting. But if there was no such a thing in the night before, no plan for traveling, lazimahu som, then has to fast. Doesn't also distinguish between before or after zawal. كموثقة علي بن يقطين أن أبي الحسن موسى بن جعفر، موسى يعني موسى بن جعفر عليهما السلام، الرجل يسافر في شهر رمضان أيفطر في منزله. Ali ibn Yaqtin asked Imam Qasim, according to this hadith, someone travels in the months of Ramadan, is a musafir, and this person knew that, or take it for granted, that this person has to break fasting because musafir. But the question was, where? أيفطر في منزله, he breaks his fasting from home or after certain distance being traveled. قال إذا حدث نفسه في الليل بالسفر أفطره إذا خرج من منزله وإن لم يحدث نفسه من ليلته ثم بدا له في السفر من يومه أتم صومه. You know the concept of bada. In aqaid we have bada. Bada is similar to naskh. Naskh, abrogation, is in tashri', in legislation. Bada is in takween. Yeah, bada is like, for example, a very famous case in our hadith is that people thought that after Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Ismail, his son, would be next Imam. Some people thought, but Ismail died before Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Of course, Allah knew, and this was already mentioned by the Prophet, that Imam Qasim would be. But many people thought Allah is going to make Ismail, those who were not very familiar with the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, they thought like that. Or for example, maybe someone is going to die, then gives sadaqah. You know the examples we talked about. The story of Hazrat Isa, the wedding of someone, the story of someone who was going outside Medina and the Prophet, informed that he's going to die. He was going to collect wood and logs. And then he came back, he was okay. And then the Prophet said, open your bag, the back, there was a snake. But because he had given sadaqah, he was protected. So these are cases of bada. Okay, so you are familiar with bada. So here, Imam says, إذا حدث نفسه في الليل بالسفر, if in the night talk to himself about safar, means he had plan for traveling. Okay, aftara, he breaks his fasting. إذا خرج من منزله, when he goes out of home. When he's in home, no, but when he actually starts journey, breaks fasting. But إن لم يحدث نفسه من ليلته ثم بدا له في السفر, he had no plan. He didn't, have this idea in his mind that I travel next day, but his mind changed. Bada happened for him. Means his idea changed. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, change is in expressing, not in changing his mind, because he has new information or he realized that it wasn't a good decision. It's in expression, in making something appear. But for us, we many times may change our mind. خب had no intention in the night, then during the day بدا له في السفر من يومه, during that day changed his mind that he should travel. In this case أتم صومه, he would complete his fasting. Similar to this hadith that we have, this موثقه علی بن یقطین نحوها روایتان او ثلاث و روایت صفوان. There are also hadiths which are not very similar but the same concept, the same idea, from Safwan, روایت ابی بصیر و روایت الاخرى. Abu Basir has two hadith لكنها كلها ضعيفة بالإرسال. But all the ahadith that we have to support second opinion are mursal, apart from this muwassaqi. So we have muwassaqi Ali ibn Yaqtin, but the rest are mursal. There is no complete chain. الثالثة الطائفة الثالثة دلت على أن السفر إذا إن كان قبل الفجر لزم الإفطار وإن كان بعده لزم الصوم. Instead of focusing on zawal, here focuses on fajr. If you travel before fajr, then you must break, you cannot fast. But if when fajr happened, you were present, your fasting started, and then you travel afterwards, you continue your fasting. This is the third group. كموثقة السماعة سألته عن رجل كيف يصنع إذا أراد السفر. I asked him, meaning معصوم, what does he do if he wants to travel? قال إذا طلع الفجر. If Fajr happens, ولم يشخص. I think it's yashkhos or yashkhas. I have to check. I think it should be lam yashkhos, means, and he has not yet traveled. Shukhus. He has not traveled yet. Fajr is, for example, 4 a.m. It's now 4:30, 5, 6. He has not traveled. فَعَلَيْهِ الصِّيَامُ ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمِ. He must fast that day. But if Fajr is 4 a.m. and before 4 a.m. he leaves home, خَرَجَ مِنْ أَهْلِهِ قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الْفَجْرِ فَلْيُفْطِرْ. Then breaks his fasting. Means that day he should be not fasting. If before Fajr, fasting has not started,